Hi, this is a demonstration of our anti-cheat expert management portal. Right, there you see that there are 4 different tabs of them. Right, the first one is a general information where you can view all those like game details like game ID and also the game key that you will be actually using for your like previous SDK integration with your gaming like Android or iOS client. And also from here, it provides you with different links, for example, for you to download the latest SDK, for example, to show you, for example, the tutorials and operation guide links. And apart from that, right, is the configuration portal for the anti-cheat expert Android edition, right? And also showing you that, okay, this is a portal that you will be able to upload your APK file for the online application hardening, or alternatively, right, here that you can just simply download the application hardening tool right into, for example, your developer environment and get this CLI-based tool integrated as part of your CI/CD pipeline. So instead of doing it online over here, that you can just do it like offline and as part of your CI/CD pipeline. And apart from that, we also provide you with a tool that is called a Soul Library hardening, right? So you can also get that integrated as part of your CI/CD pipeline. And the third one is the anti-cheat expert portal for the iOS client, right? So over here, since the iOS 1 is sort of a subset of the Android edition, so that I'm going to demonstrate based on the Android edition over here. So the first one you will see is the real-time data. So basically this is where your gaming operator see day in, day out, right? So basically over here showing you that, for example, the number of the DAU, right? And also the number of the Android devices being rooted yesterday, right? And also the number of the users being like blocked yesterday. And correspondingly, right, you're able to see that, for example, the number of the gaming client that is experiencing, for example, the false click due to different type of the cheats, right? So we also categorize and classify them by using different colors. And of course over here, right, so ACE keeper, so over here the term refers to actually the cheat type is using the Windows based virtual machine or VM cheat or VM hack, right? And the last one is showing you that how many players actually are using, for example, the cloud phones yesterday, right? How many devices are sort of rooted, and some how many like actually using the emulator, and how many like cracked versions being like detected yesterday, right? So this is just an overview. If you drill down into each of the cheat type or user information, so there's a data query portals over here, right? So where you can like type in, for example, the OpenID. So OpenID, if you are still familiar with the SDK integration, then you know that OpenID that you can associate that with your player's ID, right? So over here, what you have to do is just key in your player's ID, and it's going to show you the corresponding OpenID related data, like a cheat type and what happened to that, and also the timestamp of it. And also the third one, the custom policy management, that is the most important configuration portal that will be able to use to, for example, do the policy customization. So over here, the first one is called the feature management, where you can just turn on and off for each of the anti-cheat feature, right? So for example, the virtual machine false click, right? Speed hacker like false click, a modifier false click, etc. One of the feature I want to highlight over here is the suspicious certificate false click. Now you know that if there's a cracked edition of your like game, right, for example 2 months into the release, that you see that hey, there are several cracked edition from the market already. But if it's a cracked edition, that means that its signature and the MD5 hash value will be different, right? So if you turn it on, that you will be able to upload all those like cracked editions like MD5 file or MD5 value onto this portal, so that once we detect them, we'll get them blocked immediately. And of course, you're allowed to add some blacklist, or we call it custom cheat samples, so that you can just upload the packages that you, for example, discover from the market. And once we get them detected, right, we will get the user, for example, block or the false click, right? So over here, you'll be asking, hey, how the server or the SDK server side communicate with the client side SDK, right? Because once you upload the latest G sample, they're going to like generate, for example, also the signature and also its hash value, and we're going to push the hash value right to each of the SDK, so that the SDK, anti-cheat SDK itself, right, can detect locally. Of course, we have the wireless as well, right? So the cheat sample, we call it a blacklist. Of course, we have the wireless as well, so you can just like type in those package name or the process name that you want to whitelist. And apart from that, right, the certificate detection. So over here is referring to, for example, whether there's a like cracked version being detected from the market, right? So there's a certificate statistics and also the cracked version, etc., right? So basically, certificate detection or certificate statistics is more of the reflection of whether there's a cracked version in the market already. And apart from that, is the emulator detection, right? So emulator usually is, I would say, less harmful, right, than those like typical like cheat types like Warhack, Speedhack, etc. So over here, that will be able to see some of the statistics and also the cloud form, right? So the user use cloud form doesn't mean that they're cheating. So that's why over here, right, we don't actually block them by default, right? And you can just like query the data by using the OpenID, right? See how many users actually are using the cloud form. And of course, here is showing you the, for example, the auto clicker usage, right? So it's also like less harmful than those like typical cheat type. And this is something very interesting. So the tab name is called the Real-Time Anti-cheat 2.0. Basically, it's just a feature that allow you to push some of the latest or interim patches or signatures to the SDK client. Because you know that in order to upgrade the SDK that is already been integrated with the Android client, the iOS client, it's going to be very complicated, right? Because you need to like rebuild the APK, and usually you can't do it, for example, on a like daily basis, on a weekly basis. Usually you will be conforming to the game release cycle. So usually it will be done, for example, half yearly or every quarterly, right? So during that gap or during the interim period, we allow you to push some of the latest features or the latest signatures and the patches, right, to the SDK by using this, right? So basically that you can just take it as, for example, there's a new patches, new signature being released. I can't upgrade my SDK right now, so that I use this feature to push the latest patches to the SDK client, right? Of course, that you see that for most of the like configuration portal site, we have two different options for you, right? One is production server, the other one is development server. Right over here, the production server is referring to your like the players clients in production. So once you turn it on and off, it will be affecting all your users in production environment or the players in production environment. However, if you just simply want to test out the feature to see that whether it's like backward compatible with the old release of your game, that you can just connect your phone sets that is being installed with your old version of a gaming client to our development server on the cloud. Right, so there's a guide for you to basically show you how you're going to connect the testing phone set to our cloud-based dev server, so that you can just play around with those new features to see that whether it will be causing a crash to your existing game client. Right, so that's why over here for all those like portals that allow you to do configuration, you always see two different options: the production server and also the development server. So over here, right, is another feature that is called a circuit breaker. So just in case there is a like false positiveness, right? For example, it's affecting like 100,000 users if you don't have this like circuit breaker feature. So over here, we allow you to set the threshold. For example, the false quit for modifiers, right? If it's exceeding like 0.5% of the DAU or the yesterday, that basically this anti-cheat feature will be deactivated immediately, right? Because it could be a false positive, right? So you don't want all your users being like affected by this like false positiveness, so that you can sort of set a threshold for each of the anti-cheat features over here, just in case the false positiveness strikes. I don't want to like minimize the impact. And the last one is some of the API that can be used to integrate with your existing game server code base, game server code logic. For example, over here we open our, like for example, the emulator type, the kind of a API data, right, for you to query, so that after you get, for example, the user is using the emulator to do some cheat. After you get this information, that from your own perspective, from your game server code bases, you can, for example, instruct the game server to temporarily ban the user, temporarily punish the user, etc. Right? So basically, this is part of the data that can be used to, for example, do the action customization from your own game server code base. But the rest, right, is actually done by our anti-cheat expert server, right? Because all those actions being taken, for example, force quit, etc., is actually actions taken by our SDK and SDK server. But this is the only option for you to query the cheat data and action on behalf of our SDK server, right? So you can just customize your own policies, punish the user by leveraging your own game server code base. So that's all for my demonstration. Hope it's helpful. Thank you very much.